guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. Over the course of 10th edition, I have been working hard to try to get better at Warhammer 40,000, to actually be a somewhat competitive player. I have played, I don't know how many games with my Space Marines, but I've slowly been getting better, and I finally have my tournament list. In a couple of months, I'm going to be playing in the Dragonfall GT Grand Tournament, and I am bringing my Black Templar. And it has been a labor of love trying to, not only just trying to get good at 40k, but trying to get good with Space Marines, and I have finally nailed down my list. One big problem I was running into was I was really playing Space Marines, not Black Templar, because that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years. Black Templar have never been good. And so I used to take like Crusader squads and Land Raider Crusaders and all the right things, and I would lose and lose and lose and lose. So slowly my army shifted from like Black Templar focused into Space Marine focused. But recently, after losing and losing and losing, bringing all the right things for a Space Marine army, I finally thought, what do I want out of what do I want as a Black Templar player? And what I wanted was, I just want to kick butt in close combat. And this army kicks all the butts. It might not win me every single game, although I have won a game with this army, but in close combat, it absolutely annihilates. Let me just introduce you to this force. Number one, no Codex Space Marine units in this list. This is 100% pure Black Templar index. Yes, even the vehicles. I've got 2 Gladiator Lancers and 2 good old-fashioned Repulsors, little Primaris Rhinos. These guys have taken me a lot of learning to get good at, and I'm still learning on how to properly use vehicles. 3-inch disembark is actually kind of tricky to do when almost your entire army stands on 40mm bases, but I'm getting good at it. I'm getting better at it, and I love these guys delivering my Sword Brethren squads to the battlefield. Oh, there's a model missing. How could I forget my Land Raider Crusader? This is an old school model from my old school army, but this chauffeurs a 10-man squad of Sword Brethren with Grimaldus, with Merrick Beverly Grimaldus. And that is definitely the Death Star unit of this army. Although the other 2 5-man Sword Brethren squads are also pretty much their own Death Stars. Anything they charge is going down. And, you know, the Land Raider Crusader has not survived a game yet, but it doesn't need to survive a game. It has always delivered Grimaldus to just the right place at just the right time. I was going up against an Imperial Guard list, and I turn 1 charged and killed a Rogel Dorn tank by punching it to death. I mean, if that's not some of the most fun you can have playing Warhammer 40,000, I don't know what is. I love the Land Raider Crusader. And I also it has tons and tons of bolter shots, so it is really fun to just pepper the enemy with the bolter shots while Beverly and the gang does the real work. Beverly is incredible. He grants a +1 AP to my weapons. Actually, he has a bunch of different things he can do, but usually it's the +1 AP. And then the Sword Brethren give themselves and Grimaldus +1 damage. And if I want to pop the Crusader's Wrath Stratagem, I can have another +1 to strength and another -1 to AP. So things like the Thunder Hammer and the Lightning Claws are AP -4. That is essentially means that nothing in the game gets a save when these guys are swinging their strongest attacks. It is beautiful. They can kill anything in 1 turn, but the other 2 5-man squads also bring a lot of punch. One of my 5-man Sword Brethren squads has an attached Castellan and Marshal. And the Castellan and Marshal synergize really, really well. It basically grants this Space Marine squad every ability. They have sustained hits from my Chosen Vow, and they have lethal hits from the Castellan. And they almost hit harder than Beverly's squad. There's only 5 guys, so they're not throwing as many attacks. But oh, does it feel good. It feels so good when I roll my attacks and I see a 6, because I get to be like, that 6 is a lethal and a sustained hit. I still don't know, the Black Templar, they have a bunch of vows they can pick at the top of the game. One of them is Suffer Not the Unclean to Live, which grants my entire army lethal hits for melee weapons, and Accept any challenge no matter the odds, which grants my entire army sustained hits on 6s for all melee weapons. And I kind of flip-flop between those two, but I've kind of landed on accept any challenge no matter the odds, because my Castellan and my Marshal basically both grant, and sometimes Grimaldus, not usually Grimaldus because I don't usually pop the strat on him, but my army has a lot of ways of getting lethal hits anyway, so the sustained hits is really, really nice. And it's a little bit of, the sustained hits for some reason feels a little bit more like pulling like a slot machine lever. Like it's a little bit like, once you get a 6, that 6 explodes into an extra successful hit and it feels really, really good. This army is an aggressive army. It doesn't have a ton of board control because it's not that many units, but it's enough. I've managed to score in the 50s for every single game I've played with it. And I do have a little bit of utility in 2 regular old Crusader squads. One of them typically stands on my home field objective, and one of them is usually in Deep Strike Reserve, ready to come on either turn 2 with a rapid ingress if I happen to go second, or top of turn 3 to go snag an objective that probably my Sword Brethren squad wipes something off of. The Sword Bros are so ridiculously cool. Their survivability is okay, but their damage output is off the charts. And that's why I'm actually having fun with this army. My other Space Marine lists that I've written utilize a tiny bit of Black Templar, but this list is only Black Templar. And the Black Templar love to be in close combat. I'm having so much fun working on this army, tinkering with this army. I'm pretty sure this is the list I am going to be running, and I'm going to be running in many, many games. I've finally gotten it all put together so I can start to take it to the friendly local game store and get some evening games in to try to hone my skill in metal. I'm having so much fun. I have to do a ton of painting, a little bit more building, and I've been really enjoying the building process. On my scouts, I actually built 2 of my, these aren't technically scouts, these are neophytes for the Black Templar, but they're scouts. And I gave 2 of them the shotguns just because the shotgun bit is so wickedly cool. I put the chainsword on their back, so they are WYSIWYG. He doesn't really have the shotgun, but the shotgun just looks so cool. I can't not put it on my miniatures. And for a hot second before the last balance data slate, you would take 1 shotgun on 1 scout because it had assault. And before there was actually rules for taking actions could be technically a shoot action. And so you would actually take 1 scout with 1 shotgun so that you, in the squad, you did have 1 unit that could do an action after doing a advance movement or doing an advance. So it is a little bit of an homage to that style of gameplay, and it just looks super cool. And speaking of looking super cool, my gladiators, I actually bought some bits online from the repulsor kit to have the little peekaboo guy sticking out the top. A lot of people don't like the peekaboo guy sticking out the top, but I really, really like it. And I feel like it makes the gladiators look a little bit more tanky than the little repulsors. These guys are fine, but I do like having them looking a little bit more plain and putting a lot of the embellishment onto the tanky Lancers. And I went back and forth because there's 3 different versions of the Lancer. There is the Valiant, there is the Gladiator Lancer, and the Gladiator Reaper. I really wanted the Valiant to be good because I love multi-meltas. And as a Black Templar player, I get to take an extra multi-melta on the top, so I could have 3 multi-meltas and a twin las cannon. But it's not worth it. The multi-meltas bounce off of anything above toughness 9. They even don't do good against toughness 9 because they're only hitting on 4s. And their special ability is +1 to hit if you're, is +1 to hit or a reroll hit. It's something to help you hit if you're shooting at the closest enemy vehicle or monster. But I don't want to be super close to my enemy vehicles and monsters. And like, it's just, I don't need help hitting because I play Space Marines. We have so many ways of re-rolling and getting benefits to hit. We need benefits to wound. And that's where the Gladiator Lancer helps out, because with the Gladiator Laser Destroyer, which I don't have for these guys yet because I don't like the one that comes in the box. And so I'm gonna either kit bash or convert or make my own thingy that looks like what in my head a Laser Destroyer should look like. But it gives you reroll 1 hit, reroll 1 wound, and reroll 1 damage result. So these guys do a ton of work. They usually just dance around the backfield and just pop some shots off every single turn, but they take down some enemy vehicles. They do a really, really good job. And they tend to survive all game, So by like turn 5, when almost my entire army is gone and almost my entire opponent's army is gone, these guys start to fly up the board and they grab some objectives, they shoot some infantry off of objectives. I've been having a ton of fun with the Gladiator Lancers. Speaking of dying, this army does tend to die. There's not a lot of benefits to my saving throws and there's not a ton of bodies, but honestly, I've gone first, I've gone second a bunch of times, and it doesn't seem to matter that much. Usually, going second would be really, really bad because Space Marines actually are not very survivable. They're pretty squishy on the tabletop. And so I would get blasted really, really hard. I was also bringing Space Marine swarm lists without vehicles, so it was almost impossible to keep everything hidden behind terrain at the start of the game. But now that I'm getting a little bit better and I can be a little bit more strategic about my placement, about my movement, going first or second doesn't seem to alter the game that much. My Black Templar bring the heat. Oh, and this list also has another 5-man squad of Sword Brethren attached to the Emperor's Champion. And this is another unit that I've been struggling with getting it to do what I want it to do. And I think that's just because of the lists I've been playing this against Guard almost exclusively, and then one game against AdMech. And so this squad I think is going to be like my monster hunter / other enemy melee unit hunter, because the Emperor's Champion doesn't really synergize with the Sword Brethren. He's just a rock star on his own. He attacks so hard with so many attacks, and it is nice to get him buffed with +1 damage from the Sword Brethren. And so I think this squad has been attacking like Leman Russes and Rogel Dorns, and against those targets, it doesn't insta-smash. But against other things that are similar to itself or other kind of like Sword Brethren or just melee monster units, it would do a really, really good job. And I need to play it more. I just need to play this army over and over and over and get the reps in. And this is what I've wanted. This is what I've wanted from Black Templar from the start. This is almost the army I built way back in Warhammer 6th edition. Just replace the floaty tanks with rhinos, because I wanted close combat Space Marines to work so bad. And they never ever have until now. The only thing that's got me more excited than my Black Templar right now is our website. EonsOfBattle.com is the place to be to find our merch like our new Nick and Jay dice and the best way to support us doing what we do with a membership. Each month, members will get a credit that they can use on our new monthly terrain pack or any previous pack we have ever made. This month, we here at Eons of Battle are proud to announce the Whimsical Cottages. Fantasy buildings perfect for any game with a ye olde flair. Move your models around the quaint homes, the roomy houses, or set up shop with the tavern. With this terrain, you can make an entire town, complete with pumpkins, giant mushrooms, and trees to really fill out a game board. And speaking of our website, members at our Mega Fans tier get their names immortalized on my Black Templar army, and they come with me to games. Recently at a GT I was playing in, my opponent noticed the name tags and he really loved it. And so every time he would kill one of my Black Templars, he would read off the name of the guy that he just killed. It really tickled him, and it tickled me too. This is the list I have been running in Warhammer 40,000, and it's the one I'm going to continue to run until the wheels fall off. I just need one little bit of help. The only thing I was thinking of swapping is maybe dropping the Castellan for a little something else. I take the Castellan and then I take one enhancement, and so, what is he, 65? So he's like 75 points. So if there's anything that I could take for 75 points, probably a Scout Squad. It looks like Eversor Assassin just went up in points. That would be the other thing I swap it out with. Definitely can't afford a Calidus Assassin, which would be nice for the uppy downy, but I could maybe lose the Castellan in favor of a Scout Squad for the uppy downy mechanic. But let me know in the comments below what you think of this list and if I should make any changes. Thanks for watching.